This is WPSL Port St. Lucie.
The opinions on this program are those of the program host and guest and not necessarily those of WPSL. WPSL does not endorse products that may be mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WPSL. Legal questions? Ask a lawyer. Give us a call at 340-1590, 340-1590 here at the studios of WPSL. And Ask a Lawyer with your host, attorney Stuart Address.
Good morning, Treasure Coast and beyond. Today is Friday, and it's the 25th, and it's Ask a Lawyer, and today is the last show of year one. I can't believe I've been doing this for a year.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. It's been fun, and I'm looking forward to next year.
Yeah, this is why we do this. Radio in general. It's fun.
Can I make this a career somehow? I don't know.
You'd be disappointed.
Okay. Anyway, so it's the last show of year one. I have found it a lot of fun. I have found it interesting. We've gotten a good number of calls at my office, so thank you. We've had a few clients, which is one of the reasons we do this. And, I have found that we have people that are listening. I actually had a pizza delivered the other night. I'm serious now. I had a pizza delivered. Today is Friday, Wednesday night.
Okay.
And when the guy, I went to the door to open the door for the pizza guy, he says, "Oh, I've been hearing your ads on the radio. So at least now I know they're really playing."
Mm-hmm.
He saw the name on the pizza box. "Oh, I know who you are.
Yeah.
Listen to your ads." Well, why don't you call sometime? You must not be happy with the pizza job, sue him. So, and Cliff just walked out, of course. Now he's crawling back in. I do want to thank Veronica, my erstwhile producer, with whom I disagree on politics most of the time.
You'd be surprised.
But I do thank you for everything you've done over the last year.
My pleasure.
And I thank Cliff for all the engineering expertise and the wit and the stealing of the line, "Let's get ready to rumble."
We're all familiar with Cliff's wit.
And that's right. And to thank my paralegal, who gets plugged here every day. Hello, Cheryl. Has to deal with calls, and she has to deal with me every day, too. She likes Fridays.
Okay.
Because she gets rid of me. So she likes Fridays. She's grinning right now, I guarantee it. Who knows? There may be a party going on in my office. And finally, I'd like to thank all of you folks who are listening. It's taken a while. You develop a little bit of a following. It's interesting to find that you really do have a following, that there are certain people that listen on a regular basis. They eventually make themselves known.
But do you know that only 1% of people who listen actually let you know that they're listening?
Well, that's a very low number. That's disappointing.
No. 1% will like callers. When you have a radio station that takes callers, only 1% of the audience will pick up the phone and make that call.
Unless maybe you're Rush Limbaugh?
There's a whole... Well, how many calls does he really get?
I don't know, maybe 2%?
Are they
what about a good sports talk show?
Are they his friends?
No, they're not.
Sometimes you have to have a friend's call to get the calls
Most
rolling.
of the people who let me know that they're regular listeners are friendly.
I just know that during Rush Limbaugh, those folks stay on hold for an awful long time. They do.
You don't stay on hold too long here, folks.
No.
I promise you. So if you want to call any questions, any legal issue, if I can answer it, I will. If I really don't know how, I will tell you that. It's 340-1590. So give us a call.
And let it ring today because we're catching the phones here too.
Now, next week, which is the first week of year two, we're going to start a little something different. Maybe do it once a month. Next week, we are going to have a guest in the studio, a lawyer that I know in the community, and he is going to be discussing workers' compensation law with me. He's feeding me the questions because I don't know workers' compensation law. Otherwise, I would do it. But he knows it very well. His name is Andrew Reich. He is a partner at Reich and Mancini that has offices in Port St. Lucie and I believe in Palm City. And we're going to be talking a bit about starting out with workers' compensation, where we talk a little bit who's covered under the Florida workers' compensation statute, how it differs depending upon whether you're in state or private employment. We're going to talk about what do you do when you get injured? Who do you report to? How do you have to report? What are the time limits for reporting? I was surprised to hear that you need to report an accident on the job very quickly. Otherwise, you may lose a lot of rights.
Well, I'd say if you're hurt, everybody should know, right?
Well, you'd be surprised. Oh, and we're going to start out right now with John on line 1. Hello, John. How can I help you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I want to tell you that I enjoy your program, and I think one of the reasons I enjoy you so much is that you're a regular person, regular guy,
Thank you.
in addition to being an excellent lawyer.
I appreciate it. By the way, since we have some people on Facebook Live that say they can't hear the questions, I just got to plug myself. We've got a caller who says he listens. He likes it because I'm a regular guy and a good lawyer. So, hey, what can I say? Thank you very much.
Okay. What I wanted to ask you is that, let me just tell you a little what happened.
Sure.
I needed a new CPAP machine.
Oh, I am on one of those.
Yeah, and I've had it for over 10 years.
No, you need a new one.
Yeah, so I went to a different supplier, and it took me almost 2 months for them to connect with the doctor, to get the paperwork done. So finally they called me, and I went in, and the therapist, explained the machine, and I signed, a fact that I received it, and about 3 or 4 days later, I got a call that they want my credit card in case my insurance company doesn't pay. So I said, did you contact my insurance company? Oh, certainly. Yes, definitely. Oh, and they said they'll take care of the whole thing.
Right.
But if you don't use it more than 4 hours, the insurance company won't pay. I said, well, I've been using it for at least 7.5 hours.
Right, yeah. I know the doctors download all those reports.
Yeah, well, this is the company now. It's nothing really. Yeah, but I know what you're saying. But anyway, I absolutely refused to give them a credit card, and they wanted to take it back and all this good stuff. So I said I'll call you back, and I called them back, and I didn't hear from them for another week.
Right.
So I hooked it up and used it, and I finally got a call from the therapist. And I think we ironed it out, but did I stand my rights? Was I wrong?
Oh, I would not have given them a credit card either. Absolutely
Yeah.
not. Never in a million years.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it had already been approved by the insurance company, and the insurance company said they were going to take care of the CPAP machine, I never would have given a credit card. I agree.
And they never told me up front. They told me like 4 days later that they wanted the credit.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I absolutely refused, and they said, well, we've sent people to the homes and they don't want to give it up, and we get burnt and all that.
I said, that's their problem, I guess. If the insurance company has authorized it. Now, of course, I do understand the concept that, if you go to your doctor the next time and they download the data from the machine and you're not using it the minimum period of time, then, probably what you signed says you're responsible for the cost of the machine. Well, yeah, if that happens, but they don't need your credit card up front.
Well, I'm glad I was.
You did the right thing. I agree with you.
All right, thank you. I can't sleep without it. I mean, there's no way I would not.
I can't even nap without it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I told her. I said, if you find I'm not using it, it's because I'm dead.
Yeah, when the last time my doctor downloaded my data, he said he had never seen such a straight line of continuous use, the same amount of hours every night.
Right. Well, the only interruption I've ever had is when I had a woman banging on my bedroom door till 3 o'clock in the morning.
I don't mind. I don't think I'd mind having a woman banging on my bedroom door. I think I'd let her in.
Well, I had to let her out. That was the problem.
You had to let her out.
Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
All right, take care. Keep listening. I appreciate it.
I will. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, that's nice. I appreciate that. So, when Andy Reich is here next week, we're going to talk about what your rights are under the workers' compensation statute in Florida. And he's going to answer some questions. For example, what does it cost for me to get an attorney? Well, when it comes to workers' compensation, it doesn't cost you anything up front. It's a contingency case. and fees are negotiated that are paid by your employer. There is a contingency fee statute. He'll explain it in much better detail than I can. There are no costs up front. They cover the costs. When you can get a lawyer for free, it pays to talk to a lawyer, or as we say here, it pays to ask a lawyer. Andy will talk about that. Will you get fired if you file a workers' comp claim? Well, you know something? You might. Mm-hmm. That's the truth.
Or you might even be fired before the claim while you're
that's true too.
Still being.
That's why you make file the claim quickly.
Yeah, while you're doctoring.
But if any adverse action is taken as a result of you filing a claim, then Andy sends you to somebody like me, because then you're under a different statute. You're under the Florida Whistleblowers statute, and under the Workers' Comp statute, there's also an anti-retaliation provision, and we start going at it for retaliation, and attorney's fees are recoverable there too. So it's usually a contingency case with me. There are employers that, most employers are smart. They realize.
What do you recover? Do you just get your workers' comp, then checks from the insurance company?
On the workers' comp side, again, Andrew will talk about what you can get. You can get lost wages, medical expenses. I think there's some other things that are recoverable. I'm not really sure. But if it has to get sent to me because they do something stupid like they terminate you, then I'm suing for lost wages into the future. You do have a duty to mitigate your damages, try to find another position. But if you were making $40,000 a year and you find a job for $30,000 a year, your loss is $10,000 a year. That can go. A jury could decide, I'm going to give you 10 years worth of that. Depending upon how diligent you've been in showing that was the best you can do. So I'm going to be going for lost wages, and the anti-retaliation statute has a whole bunch of other possible remedies, including possible reinstatement if you want it. A lot of people say, well, 2 months I've been fired, I don't want to go back, and I understand that. I've had clients that say, send me back. I'm going to show them. And if that's your personality, if that's your makeup, more power to you. We can seek reinstatement. Past wages, past benefits, past seniority, all those types of things. So between Andy and I, we will talk about that next week. We'll talk about what types of settlements you can get. And a very interesting question that Andy mentioned to me that I also didn't quite understand. There's this thing called MMI, Maximum Medical Improvement. It's a status you need to reach before certain things occur. And there is a misconception, apparently, I would have thought this too, honestly, that once the doctor says you've reached MMI, no more medical expenses are covered. You got to go back to work. If you can't go back to work, you don't get the wages anymore. That's not true. Apparently, MMI has a little bit more of a narrow meaning than we understand it to. And Andrew's going to explain that next week. And I think it's going to be a good discussion. I'll ask him some questions that he's basically told me to ask him, like any good interviewer. We'll see how I am at that. I've never done it before. And we'll try to do something like that maybe once a month next year, get somebody in here that can talk about areas of the law that I don't practice, because we do have calls over the last year where I can't answer them. Sometimes we've got criminal defense calls, and all I can say is you got the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. But we may bring in a couple friends of mine who do criminal defense work and things like that. And, hey, folks, if you have any ideas about a type of guest that you might like to hear, a type of law you might like to have discussed, call me now, call me later, call me Sue, call the station, let them know, and we'll see what we can do about it. All right. Now, one other thing I would like to say before I sort of segue into real stuff. Last week, I like to talk about my the high school speech and debate team that I coach at Lincoln Park Academy. Last week, they attended a tournament at Martin County High School, It was a varsity tournament. I told my kids, don't worry about the places you get. All that really matters are what are the judges' comments. You know, are you improving? Are they good comments? Are they the same criticisms you got the first two tournaments, which it shouldn't be? Mm-hmm. Let's focus on the comments at the end, not how did you do, because it's a varsity tournament. You're not going to do even as well as you've done.
Well, because they're new at this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the most experienced kids on the team, two of them, this was their third tournament.
Right.
For most, it was their second tournament. For one, it was their first tournament. They are not varsity. They are novice. But, wow, did they shock me. Oh, my goodness. We had two of our kids, including my son, who took first place in a round for the first time. That means that in a round of 6 or 7, in that particular round of 4, the judge determined that they were the best. Wow, I tell you something. I don't know what to say about that. I just tell you something. It's wonderful. We also had a young lady in what's called declamation, which is where you deliver a speech that had been previously given by somebody of importance. She took third place in the tournament. And that was just extraordinary. Now, curiously, what happened before that seems even more significant to me, even though it wasn't third place. We had another young lady with whom we expected that nothing was going to happen at this tournament. Just, too much competition, too much good competition, too many entrants in the category.
Okay.
It's oral interpretation, the same category my son participates in, which is alternating rounds of poetry and prose, usually on a unified theme. And they're calling the event, they're saying, okay, and oral interpretation. Now, usually I have my camera out, I'm taking pictures. I don't really have it set ready to video unless I think something's going to happen. I wasn't thinking anything was going to happen. Not here, not now. And I hear, and we all hear, for the first time in our inaugural season, in 6th place, from Lincoln Park Academy. Oh my goodness. I'm switching to video as quickly as I know how to get the camera on the young lady who is just about to win 6th place. I do get it in time when they call her name and her reaction. And with the little zoom, I follow her all the way up to when she gets her award and on her way back, and the look on her face and the look on the teammates' faces is priceless. Of course, you can hear me breaking up, choking up in the background because I'm absolutely stunned. It was just such an extraordinary result. And I got to tell you, I always knew I'd enjoy coaching. But for some reason, sometimes you're a little stupid. I did not realize that coaching was teaching. And I've seen a lot of improvement over the last few months. But when you hear the name of the school called for the first time, and you see the joy, not only on the face of the young lady who won the first award for Lincoln Park, but on the teammates as well. I understand now why a lot of people teach. I understand the joy that you receive as a teacher. Maybe how the coach feels when you win the Super Bowl, even though you're not a player. I've always wondered, how could you feel so wonderful? I mean, geez, you're not playing. I think I have a little better understanding now. There's a lot of pride. And I can't wait to see these folks continue. Not this weekend, but next weekend is the state championship qualifying tournament for the Florida Forensic League. And we'll have a good number of people traveling. I think it's down to Weston for that. And that is a prerequisite to participate in April in the state championships, the novice state championships. And so there's a lot of excitement going on. The team is going to continue to grow. And lastly, I was at what's called a school advisory committee meeting yesterday, I'm a member of the board. Didn't think that would happen either. And bless his heart, the principal of Lincoln Park Academy, Henry Sanabria, is truly supporting us and is pushing for an elective class next year in speech and debate, so that not only can people on the team take the elective, so that they can be in class every day working on this, not just twice a week, but that anybody who wants to take it, even for 1 year, they could take it as an elective, learn a little bit about public speaking and how it impacts the rest of your life. And I can't wait to see it happen. I know the faculty coach, my son's English teacher, is ready to make a switch from English to speech and debate, and would be happy to teach those classes 5, 6, 7 periods a day, which is incredible. So that's my little plug for Lincoln Park Academy, my little plug for the kids, the coaches, the administration, and what's coming up in the future. And I don't know, sometimes I make it more exciting than that, even in some of my cases.
Now, you need a little plug, too, because didn't you get the whole ball rolling?
Yes, I did.
So good job, Stuart.
Thank you. I urged for 3 years since my son entered 6th grade that this school needed a speech and debate team. And finally, the word was heard, and well, it was always heard. But for whatever reason, they decided this year to allow me to get it. They found a faculty person who would, as necessary, be the faculty coach, because I can't. I'm just a volunteer.
Right.
She has learned that it's much more paperwork than she ever imagined. And, thank her. God bless her for doing all this, because without it, these kids would not be doing this. And she is enjoying it, too, as she sees these kids improve. She's been a teacher for, I don't want to say how many giveaway age, but I don't know, 20, 30 years. And obviously she does it for a reason, because we all know it's not for the money. And I can see her at the tournaments, and she is so excited to hear about these kids' successes and to see them grow. I understand. I really do understand now, and it's a wonderful thing. All right, so you would think now that we'd really go into a lot of law, but I don't know. Today I just thought we'd have some fun.
We're at that point where we can.
The heck with it.
Okay.
No, the heck with it.
No news, folks.
Before no news is good news.
Yeah.
Look, you all know what the news is, right? The government is shut down. People are being indicted. What else do you need to know? It's cold outside.
Yeah, we need, actually, right at this point, we need to know less. Just don't even listen to it.
Right, exactly. So before we go into, continue last week's topic areas, which is some of the typical calls we get in the office and, what they mean and how to handle them, types of law, I decided, hey, let's end the first year with some lawyer jokes.
Okay, you're going to keep them clean, right?
They'll be clean.
Okay.
Who doesn't like a good lawyer joke? Even
Wait a
lawyers.
minute. We may know all of these jokes.
You may know them all. But anyway, just a few. A few that I've found that I am familiar with, and a few that, well, they're not really jokes, they're sayings, but I used to say them and have shirts that said them, 35 years ago when I was debating. So, All right. So first one. Tell me if you've heard this. A lawyer dies and goes to heaven.
Yeah.
There must be some mistake, the lawyer argues. I'm too young to die. I'm only 55. 55, says St. Peter. Now, if you're Jewish, it wouldn't be St. Peter. I don't know who it would be, but just
we can ask a rabbi next hour.
We can ask a rabbi. If she's listening, who would we ask? Not St. Peter. Anyway, so St. Peter says, no. According to our calculations, you're 82. How'd you get that, the lawyer asks. St. Peter answers, we added up your timesheets. Yeah. All right, folks, if you've got a lawyer like that, run fast. Go ask another lawyer. If you got a lawyer that's padding the time and billing, you don't want them, especially if you're paying hourly. If you get these monthly statements and they seem a little bit odd, Ask questions first, and if you're not happy with the answers, ask a lawyer. See the joke, and then we get some
I'm
real
looking for
practical advice.
but-um-bump.
But-um-bump.
I'm not finding it.
All right. Another one. The lawyer awoke from surgery. He asked, "Why are all the blinds drawn?" The nurse answered, "There's a fire across the street. We didn't want you to think you had died."
I don't get that one.
Hell.
Oh, okay.
Are you slow? Did you have your coffee this morning?
I'm less blonde than I used to be, but
There is still some blonde there. Not at the roots I could see, but,
No,
the
yeah.
ends. Okay. All right. Santa Claus, the Tooth Fairy, an honest lawyer, and an old drunk are walking down the street together when they simultaneously spot a $100 bill. Who gets the $100 bill?
I'd give it to the old drunk.
Why?
I don't know, because he's old.
Oh, that's so sweet. Well, the old drunk does get it, of course.
Okay.
So you got that part right. But as to the rest of the reason, boo, buzz, whatever. No, the drunk gets it, of course, because the other three are fantasy creatures.
Ah.
I'd like to believe I'm an honest lawyer, really. But, I do understand the public's doubts about that sometimes. All right. The last of the real ones before I go to some of my sayings. What do you call a priest that becomes a lawyer?
I don't know.
This is a good one. I saw this one and I chuckled.
What do you call a priest that becomes a lawyer?
Are there any priests out there that are lawyers? Call on in. 340-1590. What do you call a priest that becomes a lawyer? Cliff? Rabbi? No. Veronica?
No, we don't have this one.
All right.
We've never heard this one.
You call him a father-in-law.
I like that one.
I like that one too.
Yeah, that's
I do.
cute.
I do.
I like that.
All right. Hey, what is this? I've just been receiving a note. This is a special
maybe
bulletin.
another joke.
I hope it's something I could say. Jewish mother hadn't eaten for 6 weeks. She didn't want to have her mouth full if you would have called. That's Cliff's. Okay? All right. Here's a couple sayings. I had these T-shirts way back in, 1978, 79, when I was on the speech and debate team, the first time in college. Old lawyers never die. They just lose their appeal. Beauty is skin deep. All right. Lawyers are often very busy. They work at all hours of the day and night. I answer emails at 3 in the morning. You never know when something's going to happen. My mother's going, ha, ha, ha.
Okay.
You don't have to like them, Ma. You just have to take the money. All right, so, lawyers, they do it in their briefs. We have a couple more, but before we get to them, we got Andrew from Port Salerno on line 1. Hi, Andrew.
Good morning, Stuart. Great show once again.
Thank you.
My joke or comment, rather, is why do sharks not attack lawyers?
Professional courtesy.
Very good. All right, then. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for the joke. Take care. That's a good one. I've heard that one before, yes. They say I'm safe in the water, but I don't believe it. I'm not going in if I see a fin.
Yeah, no.
If I see a fin, I'm not going in. I think that rhymes.
Yeah.
If the glove don't fit, you must acquit. If I see a fin, I'm not going in. And that could be somebody from Finland, too. Bum. Okay. Oh, we got another one. Is it another joke or a call? I don't know.
Phone number. Our phone number, 340-1590.
340-1590. Is that somebody in line?
Oh, okay.
What? They're confusing me here.
Your phone number. I'm sorry.
My phone number at the office?
She's trying to be quiet, so she
Okay,
should have just told us. Cause
my phone number at the office, somebody apparently wants it, is 781-8003. And as they like to say on radio, that's 772-781-8003. Call Cheryl now. All right. Two more. I told you that lawyers do it in their briefs, but what I didn't tell you is that we do it in our briefs and we gesticulate simultaneously.
Crickets.
Dead air. Yeah, I usually get a lot of groans for that one, but I don't even get that here.
No.
All right. This is a slightly off-color one, but it's clean.
Okay.
You have to listen carefully because you're going to think you hear something, but that's not what you're hearing. What type of a trial lawyer should you want to hire? Now, keep in mind, I'm a trial lawyer. What kind of a trial lawyer should you want to hire? Nothing?
Well, I would like to hire the guy who wins a lot.
That's good.
Okay.
Sir Lancelot. Okay. Cliff? He doesn't know anything.
No.
You want to hire a master debater.
Okay.
Okay, and we got John on line 2 from Fort Pierce. Hi, John.
If you're calling with a joke, keep it clean.
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Listen, good. Listen, I twisted a knee, got a torn area inside there. I did start therapy twice a week for a period of 5 weeks. I have been put on probably a desk job.
Okay. Was the injury at work or away from work?
Work.
Okay.
So I'm the early stages of this. I still have my job.
Okay.
So I should handle it how now at this point?
All right. Have you filed a workers' comp claim?
Yeah, I have, yes.
Very good. Okay.
That's called.
Did you file it on your own or do you have an attorney?
File it on my own.
All right. I'm going to give you advice I give everybody, and I'm really serious about this.
Mm-hmm.
Get an attorney. Now, it doesn't have to be the guy we're going to have next week who's really good, Andy Reich, but get an attorney because it's great that you filed, but you obviously are not going to know everything you're entitled to. Filing it is going to start all sorts of procedures. At some point, they're going to want an independent medical examination. At some point, they're going to suggest that you're fit to return to work, and maybe with some modifications or restrictions. You may not agree with it. At some point, you may decide you want your own doctor, an independent doctor, not the one they sent you to check you out. All sorts of reasons you want to have an attorney. So I would strongly urge that you get an attorney. And, if you want to wait a week and hear Andy Reich next Friday, that's great. If you want to call his office at Reich and Mancini, that's great. And if you know somebody and want to call somebody else, that's great too. But get an attorney.
Yeah, I think, what about you?
I don't do workers' comp. That's why we're having Andy Reich next week.
Okay. Andy Wright?
Reich, R-E-I-C-H.
Okay. You'll have him
He will be on the show next Friday. Okay. I'll be talking to him about workers' compensation. All about the things that you just raised.
Okay. Now, if I get a lawyer involved and work finds out, is that going to be a problem?
No, it should not be because there's an anti-retaliation provision in the workers' compensation statutes so that if they were to take any action against you just because they're not happy you got a lawyer, well, now you get an attorney like me who files a separate action under the retaliation statute for a whole bunch of different other damages are a lot more costly to the employer.
Okay, now, if I leave this job and I'm still under the program that I'm in now, workman's comp area.
Excellent question. Yes, you are. And again, that's a definite topic we'll be talking about next week. If you leave, you are still under the protections of the workers' compensation statute. not in terms of wages, of course,
Right.
but you still have your rights in terms of medical care, and to what extent you have those rights, would be the same as if you were still employed. I don't know the extent either way about how long you have these rights, but that is something that Andy will talk about next week.
Okay, because I know that I'm going to have to probably get surgery on this area eventually.
Okay.
The doctor that I'm seeing now was wanting therapy first to strengthen up the area.
That's a good idea.
I haven't had that, I think, MRI yet.
Okay.
So, but anyways, okay, appreciate all that. I will tune in next Friday.
Absolutely.
All right, folks. God bless. Go Donald Trump. He's a rock star.
All right, you take care. Bye-bye. Thanks for calling. For the record, I do not agree with the last call. I do not endorse it. It does not represent the views or opinions of the host of the show or the station, blah, 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 blah.
Anything at all could possibly happen. I mean, if he leaves that job and he's not well, and all of a sudden the workers' comp stops paying, because that could happen too, that's why you need the lawyer. You
absolutely need a lawyer. I don't think anybody that suffers any injury at work that is significant enough, and if you have a hangnail, a hangnail can turn into gangrene, but, hangnail, okay, I understand. But if you have an injury that is serious enough to require medical care, you file a claim. Preferably, you actually go to the attorney first. Let the attorney file the claim, because, hey, that's what you're not paying the attorney for, after all.
But sometimes, does it your employer? They know you're injured, don't
they'll
they
give you
apply?
The forms.
Yeah, okay.
I would let the attorney do it.
Okay.
I really would. Those forms aren't always the most friendly to the employee. And they're approved by the state, but, they're not the greatest.
Yeah, the whole workers' comp situation may not be friendly to that employee.
The workers' comp statute, I do know this. It's like it changes every 2 years. And so an injury at one point in time is under one version of the statute. And to navigate that, you need an attorney.
It's because it's insurance.
Yeah. It just changes a lot.
Yeah.
All right, last thing before we maybe go into some more substantive areas. I've always heard this line from Shakespeare. The first thing we do, let's kill all the lawyers. People use that line to justify tort reform, lawyers who get runaway verdicts from juries. It's a very negative connotation. The first thing we do, let's kill all the lawyers. And we will finish that comment, I believe, after this call from Joe from Port St. Lucie on line 1. How you doing, Joe?
Good. Thank you very much, sir. Thanks for taking my call.
Not a problem. That's what I'm here for.
I'd like to give a disclaimer up front. I detest people that bring lawsuits that aren't legitimate.
Well, so do I, especially if they hire me.
Now, my question is this. I've been going through some medical tests, and I believe that I do have a legitimate claim. Is there anybody that is good at medical malpractice in the area?
There is. There are a good number of people. Where do you live?
Port St. Lucie. I live in Tradition section.
There are a good number of people that are known as pretty quality attorneys, in Martin and in St. Lucie County. I don't feel comfortable doing that on the phone, but I'll tell you what, if you call my office at 781-8003, Cheryl knows who I generally refer possible medical malpractice cases or personal injury cases to, depending upon whether your situation is a result of a doctor or is a result of something else.
Okay, sir. I would certainly appreciate that, and I appreciate the referral to your office.
Just give her a call, and she'll give you the right phone number.
Sir, I thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Take care. Good luck.
God bless you. All right. Enjoy the weekend.
Thank you very much. You too. All right. Yeah, these are all important things, really. There's so many times where, even if you don't ever want a lawyer in your life, I don't really like going to dentists. But, you know, you need
Sometimes
them
you
on
have
occasion.
to, yeah.
And I do understand. I do understand when people come into my office and they say, I really don't want to be here. The idea of having a lawyer, you know, going through this whole process. I get you. But you know something? Sometimes you need it.
Sure.
If you have a claim and you need to sue and recover, you need it. And if all of a sudden you're being thrust into something that you didn't want to be involved in and you're being sued, you need it. And so hopefully you use the lawyer once, you're done, you never need a lawyer again. That's wonderful. But, you know, it happens. We all hope never to have an oncologist. Sometimes we find we may need one, and then you want a good one. All right, to finish the Shakespeare issue. The first thing we do, let's kill all the lawyers. It is not a negative statement. All the people who use it are misquoting it. It's similar to the people, I don't care whether you're Christian or Jewish or Hindu or Islamic or whatever you are, but it's similar to the people who use whatever version of the Bible to misrepresent what is really in there. They take a statement and they take it out of context.
Well, they take it the way they want to take it.
So, let me explain this to you, and I get this actually from the New York Times, published June 17th, 1990, and then we'll take this next call right after this. The exact line from Shakespeare is, the first thing we do, let's kill all the lawyers. It's stated by Dick the Butcher in Henry VI, Part 2, Act 4, Scene 2, line 73. Now, Dick the Butcher was a follower of the rebel Jack Cade. Jack Cade thought that if he disturbed law and order, he could become king. Shakespeare meant that line as a compliment to attorneys and judges who protect justice in society. That if you allow somebody to steal that away, the first thing they want to do is get rid of judges and lawyers so that they have control. I know that people will disagree with me, but sort of like what's happening right now in our country. The judicial system is an important system. The legislative system is an important system. The press is important.
They used to be.
They're still important, often known as the fourth estate, the three branches of government and then the fourth estate. Any dictator, anybody who desires totalitarian rule, anybody like what's going on in Venezuela right now.
Yes, where they're eating the zoo animals.
Okay? What they want to do first is get rid of those who protect others, who inform others, because it better enables them to get their message and only their message across. It's one of the reasons why when you have a coup, one of the first things they really do is they take control of the airwaves. They grab the radio stations. They make it so that the only information you get is what they want you to hear. And so just, you know, I've heard this line, let's kill all the lawyers, so many times, and I think it's funny. I do. I think it's amusing. But it's not what Shakespeare actually meant. And it would, you know, it'd be nice if a lot of people understood that, because the line is really a compliment to the importance of lawyers and of judges and, frankly, of the judicial system generally. So, in the last 10 minutes that we have, oh, I'm sorry. I apologize,
No,
Ted.
that's okay.
Oh, I am so sorry. We got Ted on line 2 from Port St. Lucie. Hi, Ted.
Hey, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. Enjoy your show. My wife and I moved to this area. Well, let's see, back in October.
Oh.
And we and we love the area and we love your show. And we've been listening to your show since I guess October. And during that time period, I had a personal injury.
Okay.
And it was I could describe it to you here in a moment.
Sure.
And I filed a lawsuit with this very large corporation. I won't mention it unless you want me to.
Well, you don't have to mention the name of the corporation.
I didn't think so. So I found the injury. It was a very serious burn that I had, and it was a result of some, I guess you would call malfunctioning equipment.
Okay, so a burn from malfunctioning equipment.
Yeah, and I actually had not one but two witnesses that noticed what happened to my burn. It was actually a burn on my hand, and so I was told, I filled out the form, and I got a claim number and all that, and I was told they would get back to me. Eventually they did after I had to call them.
Right.
And I've been hoping to hear from them to see what they could do compensation-wise.
Have you been getting medical care?
I did get medical
Was this
care.
on the job or just not on?
No, I'm retired. This was at a malfunctioning machine in this particular store.
Okay.
And so they the only thing they've ever done is called and asked me, how I was doing.
How bad were the burns?
It was a second-degree burn.
Okay. And go ahead.
No, I've been thinking about looking for a personal injury lawyer. It's a similar burn to what actually happened to the lady at the McDonald's drive-thru.
Oh, really? My goodness, boy, that case is misunderstood.
But in this case, it was actually the machine actually malfunctioned not once but twice. And like I said, two of the employees witnessed it, witnessed the accident. And I've been waiting for this particular large corporation to call me back.
Don't wait any longer.
Yeah, it's definitely, and I know a little bit about the law, and it's definitely a winnable case. I'm actually looking for a personal injury lawyer that would handle this on a contingency basis.
Right, absolutely. That's the way personal injury cases are handled. It's generally on a contingency basis.
Sure.
Are you fully recovered at this point?
I've actually got an appointment to have someone to take a look at a medical doctor, of course. Take a look at the doctor. I've had a couple doctors look at it already, and I am in discomfort. I do feel tightening of the skin, and I'm going to do get a I guess you would call it a third medical opinion. So far, they're in agreement with me that I've got an injury problem here.
Do you know what kind of medical care you're still looking at?
I do. I've gone from a core care center, which said I had a second-degree burn.
Right.
I went to my my new primary care physician, because we just moved here in October, and now I have an appointment in a couple of weeks with a dermatologist to look at the damage to my skin.
All right.
So I haven't researched on the internet or any place else in regards to a personal injury lawyer, because we've been so busy getting unpacked and getting our life together.
I'll give you 3 ways that you can find one, because you should have a lawyer, really. You should have a lawyer. The first thing the lawyer is going to do is write a demand letter to the corporation, because that is going to get the corporation's attention, not something from you.
Makes sense.
There are 3 ways you can do this. 1, you could call my office again, like I told the last caller, and Cheryl will give you the name of a couple personal injury attorneys that we typically refer personal injury cases to.
Sure.
Second option is, I'll be quite candid with you, my office generally does not handle, personal injury, because they get to be much more complex than I'm familiar with. We do handle, basic personal injury cases, burns, things like that are not going to get that complex. And if they do, then we refer it out. So, you can always talk to Cheryl about possibly setting up a consultation in my office if you're interested. And the third thing you can do to find an attorney is there is a site that I love. It's called AVVO, AVVO.com.
ABVO.com.
Right.
Okay.
It's basically it rates lawyers, but I don't like it so much for the rating of lawyers. A 10, 9.5, 8.2. Those are arbitrary. It's like
I agree.
it's like the Russian judge, in the Olympics.
Does that site give contact information as well?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Almost every lawyer in the country.
Mm-hmm.
What is valuable to me is the reviews from clients.
Sure.
If you are looking at an attorney, let's say, that has no reviews or 1 review or 2 review, it doesn't mean it's a bad attorney. It may just mean that people aren't reviewing that attorney on this site. But if you see on this site an attorney that has 10 reviews, 20 reviews, 30 reviews, or like me, 50 reviews, I'm not saying read them all, my goodness. But what I tell people is, 1, 2 reviews, anybody could say anything about anybody. If you read 10 reviews and you start seeing similar themes from different clients, such as always calls me back, always explains what's going on in my case, very helpful. If you see similar themes, it can give you a sense of confidence that this is somebody you might want to go talk to. So whether it is me, whether you call Cheryl and ask for a referral to somebody who does personal injury full time, which doesn't insult me at all, or whether you want to go on to AVO and try to find a quality personal injury attorney in St. Lucie County or Martin County, those are the ways to approach it, but definitely get yourself an attorney.
Well, okay, thank you very much, and I will call Cheryl. I do have one other question for you, if it's okay.
Absolutely, we got about 2 minutes.
When I call Cheryl and describe in detail, and I'm a very detailed person, and I have immaculate records of exactly what happened.
Oh, I love people like that.
You'll see. Is there a fee for this consultation?
No.
Okay.
No, not for personal injury type consultations. Not for consultations that are on contingency fee cases.
Sure. I will call her today and tell her what happened, and then we'll go from there, I guess. And I thank you very much.
You're very welcome, and have a good weekend. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, folks, we are down to our last 45
Quite
seconds.
the show, Stuart.
This was a wonderful show. Thank you for all the calls. What a way to end the year. I look forward to this next year, too. And I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. It's going to be cool. Go ski boarding or snowboarding or whatever. I don't know, tobogganing, do something fun. Anyway, until next Friday, when we'll have Andy Reich as our guest to talk about workers' compensation law. This is Stuart Address for Ask a Lawyer, and thank you, and have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.